Let's be covering what are the top things that you can sell on Etsy, and here I have a huge collection of things, treasures and bargains that I found on garage sales. I'm going to be covering each one of them, how much I think it is worth and how I estimate, and which ones you should go about and sell. So all of those coming from garage sales, vintage places, gifts, everything and that I found in different kind of locations, I bought and so on. So when you're grabbing things to sell online, I suggest you have multiple sources where to get them. You can get them from auction places, you can get them going to thrift stores, you can get it from Salvation Army, you can go and get it from Goodwill as well. And the best place is garage sales. Sometimes people sell vintage, handmade items over there. And with vintage, you can sell anything vintage on Etsy. It has to be over 20 years old to qualify as vintage. So if you see the item itself is over 20 years old, you can go ahead and list it. Plus some items you can estimate how old they are as well. With that said, number one thing, we'll be starting with my favorite one is this thing. What is this? Well, it is a metal plate that actually is, look at this, very interesting, that goes on top of houses and so on. And right on this, it says the year as well. When we are looking at this, you have to always look for identification marks to this. And sometimes it says the year, sometimes it doesn't. Then you have to research how much this item is worth and if there is others that were produced in the same time period. So this specific item, I sold one of those for around 60 bucks. This is the second one that I actually have, and I'm trying to sell this one as well. And it is made out of metal. So anything over 20 years old is a fair game for you to sell on Etsy. It is very good. It is metallic. It is well made. They don't make them as good as this anymore. And there is a special hook right there on the other side where you can go and hang this on something. So this is one item, but there's a lot of items that I have here that you can go and resell. So how much did it cost me to acquire this specific item? Nothing. Somebody gave me this as a gift. So sometimes you get people giving you something as a gift as well. That's the best way to make money, is when you get something for free, of course. Number two, this bottle. This bottle itself is a very nice bottle, and it has a bunch of corks inside of it from different kind of ways. So somebody was collecting them and posting it right in this glass bottle. I don't know how old this specific item is. It's very hard to tell, but the stuff inside of it might be even older than the actual bottle. They don't make them look like this anymore. Or of course, this could be a very, very good replica that made to look like something that was really old. So it says absolutely pure milk. So this used to be a milk bottle back in the day, or it is a very good reproduction. You have to watch out for the reproduction, because sometimes you have a very nice reproduction of something and it is very good. So if a very good reproduction might actually look like the real deal. This one, I suspect it is the real deal. It's not a reproduction, just because of the age of some of those things that are inside. So somebody was collecting them. Every time they would drink something, they would put it in here. The cost of this is 50 cents. The amount of money I expect to get for something like this is going to be over 50 bucks. Now, this is a very big hassle to pack because it is made out of glass. So I'm going to put a big gamble on something like this, because if it breaks during shipment, I'll make sure it is very, very well packed. And this is another thing you have to do when you're shipping things online. Make sure everything is well packed, because if it breaks, you have to, either you have to give them full amount of cash, or of course you can claim insurance, and you don't want to claim insurance too often, especially for cheap stuff that is under 50, not really worth the hassle all the time. Next thing is my favorite, number one favorite thing to always look for in garage sales is this. And before I went and put the other one back aside, that thing cost me 50 cents to get, which was super cheap. Those things sometimes cost me like around $2, sometimes less. And it is a gamble. Some of them go for around 20 to 50 bucks. Other ones don't go for much, like 10 to 12 bucks, and they might not be worth it for me to post on sale. So those cameras, they're vintage. Some of them prices are pretty good, others the price is not that great. So you have to make and know what you're buying. And sometimes you just take a gamble and buy them because you make a lot more money eventually. And the price of them, if you get them for a decent price, you can always flip them on the garage sale anyways. So here is another one of them made by Kodak. Those are vintage, and the price can only go up with vintage cameras. They make no more of them, and of course more of them break over time with use, and there is less in circulation, which means the price only goes up, especially if they're very, very good. And what I mean by good, it is good quality, it works, great shape and condition. Next thing, Beanie Babies. The craze of Beanie Babies went away, but the amount of price you can get some of those and you can sell them, well, you can grab them super cheap and you can sell them for a lot of money. Some of them are very unusual, and it's going to say right on this specific one is not an actual Beanie Baby, it's Wetkins, that's the name of it, but there is Beanie Babies as well. So stuffed animals, it's a hit or miss with those, but you can always flip them. If you get them for like 25 cents each and you flip them for 50 cents, you already make double the money that you posted in there. So it's totally worth it, depending on the price of them. Next thing, some kind of a ceramic handmade item that I found. Price, age unknown, never seen anything like it. This thing potentially could be worth a lot more than 100 bucks. It could be worth 200, 500. I have no idea because it is so exclusive, and I never seen anything like it. On the other hand, there's thousands of items that are made by somebody who is a nobody, and of course it could be worth 50. Some of those products, since you don't know how much they're worth and they're vintage and antique, best thing is just to list them up there. If there is nothing like it, you do the best with description and everything else, and of course if it sells, you're gonna make really decent money in the process. Well, next one is this. That's actually a chimney replica. It is very old and vintage. Unfortunately, this one suffered a very, very bad accident. And what I mean by that, the top that closes it fell right inside of it, and you can't get it out. No matter what force I use, this is stuck. Well, maybe it someday will get out of it. That would be a good day, wouldn't it? But because of that, I can't get it out. So since I can't get it out of there, it puts down the value of this thing, which otherwise would be maybe 30 to 50 bucks, depending on the model and condition. The condition of this is not as great, just because it got stuck inside of it. Anyways, it's a cool thing. I'm just keeping it just because it's so cool. This is the the great, amazing vending machine since 1920s. This is from 1960s, I believe. And what it was is you put candy inside of it, right here. When you take it out, you get one of them and you put them in your hand, which is kind of cool. This is a vintage item and people buy them. This one worth around 70 bucks right now at its given condition. Very vintage, hard to find, no longer anyone makes like this. Here's another one. Ooh, this is awesome. Okay. This is from the 1990s, and what it is has a skull heads over here and a bunch of actually used. It was actually used. That's why you have all these things in here. It's just an unusual item, and yes, somebody will buy this around the Halloween time. That's when those kind of things sell for good money. Next thing, that's a big hit or miss right here with Handmade Statues. This is actually handmade from 1982, made by a specific artist. Now, we don't know how much this specific item actually is worth because there is so few of them ever made. So it's up to you to just post them up there and see how much they sell for. I'm not having good luck with miniatures like this. Some of them break in the mail when I ship them. Others are very hard to get the actual price to them. So I don't suggest, unless you get them super cheap, I would not go into selling those kind of statues. Just not a good way to make money. Next one, and it's one of my favorites. It's a vintage work machine. So it's a sanding machine made by craftsmen. This is back in the olden days when they used to honor those craftsmen. You could find a vintage tool, you will find a glassware, you would bring it back to the store and you can get a brand new copy for free. That's how they actually stood by the name. American made, that's how they used to do it back in the days. And the company is going totally under when they no longer do this. Once they stopped honoring this warranty and they decided they no longer do this anymore, well, the whole company is going down. So Sears company is not doing so well anymore, but vintage things made by craftsmen, some of those go for a pretty decent price. I have a lot of vintage stuff on this. I love selling one. It's fun to grab them, it's fun to have them, and as a history major, it's one of the best things for you to find something super vintage, flip it for a huge amount of cash, and then find more of them to resell. Next thing, this one I'm having zero luck selling. It's been a while since I've been trying, and some of those items right here you can see, some of them been on, and I do sell them for a long time because I'm trying to get the best possible price for what I have. I'm not in a hurry to actually sell them. This is one thing you have to keep in mind as well. If you're not in any hurry, you definitely can make a lot of money in this. So this is from the 1960s, and it's not selling. I did sell one of those. So one of them sold. We have the second one to go. It is a very nice drinking container as well. Not vintage enough, unfortunately. It is vintage from the 1960s, but if it was way more vintage, it would be selling for more money. Next one is this. Drinking cup. Nothing in there. And this one is handmade in European market. Very nice design as well. People buy those things, they collect those things, and you can make some serious money with them. In fact, I have a NASCAR racing edition right here. See the car inside of it? Wow. So you can drink from that as well. You can make good money too. Next one. Vintage bow and arrow. You can shoot targets with it. It's pretty vintage. Handmade vintage toy. And I'm selling this. I don't make those toys anymore like this. Last one. Last but not least. Here we go. This is for boats. It's a boat nest, and when you look right on the bottom, it says made in Philippines, which makes this item to be somewhere in the 90s, because everything almost now is made in China. If you see made in China, a lot of times you know this thing is not vintage. This one is made in Philippines, so I suspect it is early 90s and so on. Very nice details as well. Doesn't look like it is mass produced, more like handmade. So the things that you can sell online, there's a variety of different things that you can grab, you can sell them. Make sure you find something that works within your niche. And when you're selling vintage and handmade items, especially when you're going into the vintage business, the more things you list, the more variations you have, the more stuff you have up listed for sale, more likely somebody's going to come and buy them. So having a lot of things up at the same exact time is your best way to make some decent cash. Now, if things are not selling, not doing well, you can always get rid of inventory. So move the price down, because someday the buyer is going to come. And the right buyer does come. This business is not something that goes a lot fast. It goes over time. So you have to actually get a bunch of stuff, and then you slowly sell them for good and top dollar. If you don't have any patience, you're not gonna make the big bucks in this business. That is well said. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you learn a lot in this course and in this video. So if you are interested in learning more about this, make sure you watch the next one as well. Thank you. Have a great day.